Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and good morning. This was said by Theodore Roosevelt, our 26th American president, and it really is the truth. If you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit down for a month. How true. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America. Good morning, everybody. Followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, God bless America. Thank you. I certainly hope he will again. Good morning, everybody. I'm Zeb Bell, and this is Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with our great advertisers, such as Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more. And, of course, they're at 459 Overland Avenue in Burley. And also our great friends at Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them 734-6969. And back from a busy, star-studded weekend, here she is, the lovely Janet Jemison.
Well, good morning, sunshine, and how are you doing today?
Not bad. Did you have a good weekend?
I did.
Yeah.
I went and did some announcing at, there was a local concert over at Diamonds with Lita Ford, so I went and did that, and then yesterday just kind of tinked around the valley and went to Murtaugh Lake and went swimming.
You were right over here and you didn't stop in and say hello?
Yeah, we had sun and everything, and we were putzing around in the motorhome that we just got.
Well, the least you could have done is called, and we would have come over. Oh, my.
You by your house, I'm like, oh, there's a...
Oh, my. Well, I feel bad. You didn't even honk.
Actually, I think we did honk.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
And was I in a comatose state or something?
I don't know. You weren't outside.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
All right. Well, do we have a pledger this morning?
We have Mr. Al Butler on for the pledge and Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Well, let's listen to Mr. Al Butler. Go ahead, Al.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well done, my friend. How are you this morning?
Doing great. Hey, Zeb, have you noticed that on this weekend, all we had was Manziel? Well, look who come in the last quarter, done just as good or better, scored a touchdown, and not one damn word was even mentioned about Kellen Moore.
Well, there was in the paper the accolades paid to Kellen Moore, but I will say I agree with you. Johnny Manziel seems to be getting all the ink lately for the Cleveland Browns, and Kellen Moore, I have said for a long time that he is absolutely deserving, I think, of a shot to play. What was he, 13 out of 15 passes to lead Detroit back in a preseason game, and they won in the last minute? That's pretty doggone impressive.
Damn right it was, and then all he can do is talk about Manziel.
Yeah, I agree. Johnny Manziel, I've got a lot of holes in his screen door that I just as soon not even talk about, but I agree with you.
He's kind of worse than old Broadway Joe Namath.
Oh, I think in many cases even worse, but I'll talk about that probably a little bit later on. I appreciate it. Thanks, Al.
Bye.
God bless. Yeah, Kellen Moore, former Boise State University standout, I guess on the depth chart back at Detroit, playing for the NFL Lions, probably the number 3 quarterback, but he was the one that efficiently, and I mean underline the word efficiently, came in that preseason game. Now, I want to say something about preseason football, but I don't want to take a lot of time right now because we've got to get into the weather. I'll try to remember to do that in a few minutes. Weather forecast, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Oh, my goodness, I'll tell you, these folks are busy this week. They're having a back-to-school sidewalk sale. Oh, you don't want to miss it. And you can enter to win a school gift basket that includes a 30-minute massage gift card for mom, school supplies, and you'd better check out all the sale prices on select Mohawk Bliss and Dreamweaver carpet. Oh, yes! Stop in and see them today. 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
I want to hear about you in football. Can we put the weather aside for a minute, Zeb? I want to hear your thoughts.
No, I'll just say this real quickly, Michael, and then you got to give me a very concise weather forecast. Preseason football, a lot of people go, ho-hum, it doesn't mean anything. Well, that's where they're wrong. We have almost 70% of the players on the field, or 75 even, that are vying for a job, for their livelihood, and sometimes it's rougher, tougher, and even meaner in preseason trying to get some of these jobs. And I think that Kellen Moore did a great job bringing the Lions back to win over the Cleveland Browns. Plain and simple, that's what I feel.
Well said. Well said. You have a nice enough morning. You need to put the cover on the hay for later on tonight and tomorrow. So you got a nice sunny day with a high of 89, then the rain will kick in tonight. It'll be heavy for tomorrow. I said heavy for tomorrow. And the daytime temperatures will drop into right around the mid-80s, low to mid-80s. Other than that, you got a break, got enough time to cover up your hay. If you're going to cut the grass, go ahead and do it. By tonight, you don't need to worry about watering it. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. The best weatherman in the world, MichaelRogersWeather.com. And I wish we had more time to discuss that. Michael, of course, a former football player. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Nice people. Yeah, you got people in the NFL, they're hungry. And they are lean and mean coming out of those practice camps, and they know that their chance of making the roster, in many cases, very slim. And they're out there, and they are hitting. And I think in some cases, preseason football can be, I'm not saying it is all the time, don't misread what I'm saying, tougher and a lot more erratic as far as injuries are concerned and everything. These guys are playing for a possibility for a career in the NFL. And I thought what Kellen Moore did, and he's been with the Lions now for the last couple of years, what Kellen Moore did on Sunday at that game, Saturday night I guess it was absolutely outstanding. The kid's got talent, but the kid does not have the size. He is not the graphic quarterback of 6'4", 225 pounds, runs like a gazelle. Kellen Moore has one thing that a lot of those guys don't have. He's a winner. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They've got gift cards. Now, a lot of you might be saying, gee, what can we get at Martha? Well, how about a gift card for cleaning? You know, whether it's the drapes or whether it's all the tablecloths before we get ready for Thanksgiving and Christmas or whatever it might be. What a nice gift to go into Daryl's Cleaners and have it cleaned very effectively and efficiently. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see those good folks today. Hey, by the way, talking about good folks, SafeLink Internet Services. Don't forget their great big summer special. Free router, free 30-day risk trial, free installation. Holy cow, save you money, and it is fantabulous with SafeLink Internet Services. Call them today. Tell them Zeb sent you. 677-8000. That number again, 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. The best. I guarantee it. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Are you scared of what's happening in Iraq? Now, folks, if you're driving a car, a truck, or if you're sitting at the kitchen table having a cup of coffee or just about ready to run the kids to school, whatever, I want you an honest answer on this, and I want some calls. Are you scared of what's happening in Iraq with this terror group ISIS? Are you worried about this group having the ability to come here to the United States? You should be. You should be very, very afraid. Because according to some reports, they are already here with various terror cells in the United States. And they even are boasting about it on their social media. ISIS here in the United States. And caller, just a minute, let me finish my point really quick. They are a major threat to us. And so here is a ring to Congressman Mike Simpson and others. They are not to be dealt with. They are to be killed. Now, that might sound hard and calloused, but it's a fact. ISIS is absolutely the most heinous, the most fearful, the most treacherous terror group in the world today. And some of the things that they have done in the last 30 days are absolutely atrocities. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeff. I do fear them being here. I fear that we're going to end up having to fight them on our soil. The women that they are raping and killing, the men and the children they are beheading, they will be our children here, not halfway around the world. Later, we're going to have to deal with them, like you said. And I'm afraid it's going to have to be here.
Why do people, and you're younger, but I want your opinion on this, why are people taking it for granted that they will never be here, get here, and cause problems here? Why are we that naive?
Well, we kind of look at it as we're more or less isolated, they'd like to think, by the oceans on each side, and our borders on the north and south. The problem is there is no border anymore. Yeah. There isn't anything. And younger generations, young people would rather hide themselves from reality and play video games, stay out of the public or political and public view as far as what's going on in the news. They don't want to believe it's going to happen. They don't think that they'll ever reach here. They don't want it to ever reach here, but they're afraid to do anything about it.
I agree with you, and thank you very much for your opinion. I want to get a bunch of other people on here on that, too. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. You bet. And I'm not boasting when I say this, so don't go and say, that's he's egotistical, and he's bragging about himself and everything. For the last over 3 years, I have tried to bring you on this program some of the foremost leaders in this vein of thought, if you will, about how insecure our borders are, how insecure our terrorism fight is to protect us. I've had Brigitte Gabriel. These are all national people that you can tune into national programs. I've had them right here. Brigitte Gabriel, Martin Moyer, many other. Ron Kessler, and Ron's going to be on our program next week. Brand new book out, stating the dangers and the hazards of what's going on with the American naivete and how we need to be extremely concerned, and countless others. And they've been telling you right here in southern Idaho and around the Northwest, we are not prepared, we are not ready, and we are very gullible. And I think they're right. Caller, please have patience with me. I'll be right with you. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the Square in Rupert. Oh, breakfast, lunch, or supper. Open Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, Saturdays, 6 to 2. And what a bakery. Oh, my goodness sakes, wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls that she helps deliver to my clients on the air. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Delicious. Also, I want to remind everybody real fast, stand by. about our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and they're at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they've got all the air filters for your air conditioners. You know that. You know they've got all the cord ends for every piece of equipment that needs power. You know they've got the rubber cords, all the fuses, all the light bulbs, anything electrical, right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. And stop in and see them today, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zed. How are you?
I'm nervous about the subject matter that we're talking about because, and I'm very honest, I think the naivete of America is going to kill us.
Yeah. I have two quick questions that maybe you can shed some light on, or your people that call in. I want to know, first of all, who are the ISIS? What makes up their armies? Where did they get their men? Where do they get all their arms?
They are
pull them out of Syria or Afghanistan or like that.
All of the above.
Those places would be.
Okay.
I want to know where they came from.
All right. Hold on just a second. Let me interrupt you there for a second. All of the above, yeah. Afghanistan, Syria, they are making appeals. And by the way, I'm glad you asked this because it really opened my eyes. Many of their recruits are literally leaving this country, the United States of America. They have estimated, and when they say 100, I think probably we better inflate the numbers, at least 100 known individuals have left this country to go over and take part in ISIS, and I am so concerned that these people have visas to go back and forth on their American passports, and they could be coming back here and setting up terror cells in this country. You don't know any different, and I don't know any different.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure there's already terror cells that have been here for a long time. Like I had heard from a good source, back even 10 years ago, that around Columbia, Missouri was some of the largest terror cells in the whole United States.
Yeah.
And there's a big mosque there.
Well, I tell you...
The other thing I would like to know, Zeb, have you noticed, and I heard this from Mark Levin, have you noticed that the administration is they're not calling them ISIS anymore. They're calling them the Islamic State,
yeah.
which implies that they're working to set up what they call a caliphate of all the different Muslim states and countries. But they don't call them ISIS anymore or anything. They call them the Islamic State. And that's really scary. And that shows you how naive or complicit our administration is.
I'm not sure, and I want you to stay on the air for a second. I'm not sure that I would use the word naive with this administration, because I'm going to tell you something.
No, I'm not. I'm being charitable.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was being charitable. But I think complicit, better word. In other words, they know what's going on, but they can't come right out and gung-ho support everything. I'm sure it hurt them to no end to have to drop a few bombs. But anyway, to me that's we're when they got on the kick, they don't even call a terrorist a terrorist. They call them a displaced whatever, I don't know.
Well,
they're doing this with ISIS and that big group, and they're acknowledging what they really are and what their goals really are.
I agree with you. I tell you something, you can go back to the Fort Hood shootings, and you can see the verbiage change in this administration, to where they refuse to say Muslim terrorism or anything else, and they've always shied away from Islam, Islamic, or Muslim terrorists, the word terrorist, etc. And I totally agree with you over the change in verbiage with ISIS. And I received an email from a very dear friend of mine back in Missouri. And I think he's 100% right. And when he said that the cowardice and the pulling together with Obama, you got to remember, Obama was born and raised in this neck of the woods in the Middle East. He knows these people. And I absolutely have said on the air, and I'll stand behind my words, I do not trust Obama. I never have trusted Obama. I do not trust his administration. I don't trust anything that's going on behind the scenes with the arm twisting of what's happening with the Muslims and the takeover of various countries. I am very much afraid.
Yeah, when he stands at the microphone and says that the Muslim people have been responsible for building the very fabric of our country, that's got to be a play. I'm not saying there's not some good Muslim people and that they work hard, but to say that they are the ones that have built the fabric of our country, how can he stand there and say that with a straight face? Even more, how can the press let him get away with it?
I agree. Now, right there is the guilty party, and it's the media and our press. They have given him a free pass to do and say everything. Thank you very much for your call this morning. I really appreciate it.
Real quick, Deb, I have a theory on why the press lets them get away with all of this. Fear.
No, I think that's probably true.
They said too much. They would be afraid that they would be attacked. You know, really, it's fear.
It's a shame to think that we are living in a country that has gone down the drain that far. But I would have a tendency to be agreeing with you over the fact that our media is in the tank right now with a kiss-up attitude to this administration and especially Barack Obama. And the NBC, ABCs, and CBSs, etc., and more have absolutely done nothing to inform the general public that cannot get cable as to the honest appraisal of the news, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
I pastor a church, and I was thinking the other day, the people, generally speaking, they don't have anything to fear from Christians. But they sure do from the Muslims.
Well, hold on just a second. Don't hang up. I right now will come out and say that I think with this government going after Christianity, and they have, I mean, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure out that there's been an attack on Christianity, starting with Christmas right on down the line in this country. And now we're seeing these horrendous happenings over in Iraq to where people are beheaded, people are burned alive, people are buried alive. If they don't convert to Islam, I mean, the ISIS is absolutely a terror organization, pushing and preaching this attitude and also the fundamentals of Sharia law, and it's coming here. But you know something? Our people, i.e. like Congressman Mike Simpson, they can't see the forest because one tree is standing in the way.
Yeah. I haven't heard any of our congressmen stand up and make any kind of a strong statement at all. Now, I might have missed it, but I have not heard anything at all, and they're all just laying low in the weeds hoping they can win the November election, but I'm afraid there's surprises on the horizon on that.
I agree. Hey, by the way, thank you and congratulations, and you stay in the pulpit and remain tough. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's, like I've told people, I would be the first one they'd come for.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
And then it'll be people like you, and right on down the line.
I agree.
And it'll be some of these ladies that think they're so smart, backing Islam and Sharia law, and they don't have the least idea what it means if they would come under that, or if they have an idea, they don't think it can ever happen here.
I agree.
But I believe it can.
I got to run. I'm running real late. I got to get a commercial break in at the bottom of the hour. Thank you. God bless you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. The man is right, and I appreciate his call. Thank you very much. Hey, we've got to get this in real quick, and then I've got the Capital Press Ag Minute. Don't forget Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert for all your fair supplies needs. Yes, this week the Cassia County Fair. This week the Gooding County Fair. Holy cow, we got county fairs coming out all over the place. You better be sure and be ready to go. Fair time is here, and they've got for 4-Hers 10% off on anything you need. Health supplies, dog and kitty cat food. You got to take your dogs to the fair, don't you? Sure you do. And, of course, they got their own feed mill with the best of feed for your livestock, all the brushes, all the haulers, all the lead shanks, all the clothes, all the boots. What are you waiting for? It's all there at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Mandy and Steve, the whole crew are waiting to serve you at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. Woo! Got to run. Here's the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Magic Valley in eastern Idaho alfalfa growers fear a week of continuous wet weather has caused widespread damage to cut hay and even some uncovered bales. Many producers with potatoes, sugar beets, and pasture, however, expect a late-season boost from the storms. University of Idaho Extension Board Specialist Glenn Shoemaker says the rain has soaked second cuttings in eastern Idaho, as well as late second cuttings of beef hay and third cuttings of dairy hay in the Magic Valley. Shoemaker worries about the potential for mold, nutrient leaching, and spontaneous combustion in damp hay. With the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Hannah Brose.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
All right, thank you very much, Capital Press, and all the information. By the way, on this wet hay, be careful out there, folks, about that internal combustion and everything. Oh, my goodness. My hay, I thought maybe it'd go down the first tier. Well, it not only went down the first tier, it went down the second tier, into the third tier, and into the fourth. It really rained and soaked up that hay. I hear you, caller. I'll be there in a minute. Don't go away. Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got 3 locations serving you. Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, South Lincoln and Jerome, and also 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. They've got all the Coyote tractors. They got everything for you. The Bobcat equipment. And, of course, don't forget, they've got all the big Doosan loaders. They specialize in all the equipment that you need to get the job done. And along with that, don't forget that they've got full-time certified mechanics and a great shop to work on all the equipment. For sale or lease, it's Barry Equipment and Rental in Twin Falls, in Jerome, and in Burley. Absolutely the best. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I think it's ironic, you know, that here we have our country, we have in the State Department some radical Muslims right there in key positions, and I find it ironic that they let ISIS basically run loose, you know, and now, of course, we come in there with these airstrikes and so forth, but it's like, you know, closing the barn door after the horse is gone. And so now we're going to be forced into some drastic military action when they could have probably headed it off at the pass by, you know, earlier. And but now, you know, so you see, our whole philosophy is to condemn Israel and anybody that wants to protect themselves. We got open borders here. The Trojan horse is well entrenched in this country, as you've already been mentioning, and it's pretty scary, especially when you figure in our refugee center we have like 27 of Chechnya that people are involved in the Boston bombing, and you know, so we've got it right here locally, folks. We better be on the alert, and I know you've seen those emails, Zeb, about can a Muslim be a good American? And the bottom line is no.
because the ones that aren't militant are not going to take a stand against those that are.
There are some, and I've got so many calls lined up, Adrian. I just want to say this real quickly. There are some that I've had on my program, and I'm going to have another interview next week with a gentleman out of Arizona that is nationally known and absolutely is disgusted the way the Muslims have treated the world situation, and we're going to have him on our program, and we'll hear more. But I agree with everything you said. I don't even think it's a naivete. I think it's a blatant blindness, forced blindness into not understanding what these people are trying to do, not only to the United States, but to the entire world. Adrian, I got to run and get a commercial in. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, the big problem is we've helped, we supposedly these dictators, we got rid of them and we put the Muslim Brotherhood in their place. So we threw the baby out with the bathwater, literally.
I agree.
And as bad as they were, they just made things worse, and I think they did it. They're not naive. They know exactly what they're doing.
I agree with you.
With that.
Yeah, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is going to be back on our program. A lot of folks have seen him on national programs, and he's going to be back on our show next week. Thanks, Adrian. I got to run. Thank you. Now, caller number 2, I want you to show some patience to me. Please be nice to me. I got to get this in real quick. Cassia County Fair all week. My goodness, they're going to start tonight with actually today. All the exhibits are going to be showing up at the Cassia County Fairgrounds. And tonight they got something new. It's called an ATV rodeo. It's going to be exciting. I know it is. And then, of course, tomorrow night, the Chris Cagle concert starting at 8 p.m. And then Wednesday night, the team ranch sorting. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, PRCA rodeo, along with all kinds of great pure mutual horse racing. Everything at your Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 2014. Don't miss it. It's this week. Come on to the fair. Oh, and by the way, we want to thank some of the Cassia County merchants that have helped support the fair. AMI 1719 Overland and Burley. Look for the big 28-foot wrench over their door and go nuts over their bolts. That's right. They're the meat and potatoes business. You better believe it with all the nuts and bolts and everything else. AMI, thank you very much. Along with Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West, Highway 27 in Paul, and the new location of Butte Irrigation, right there on Kimberly Road, north of Kimberly by Red Cap Corner. And, of course, they are a major hub for agricultural irrigation parts and equipment. They'll get you wet at Butte Irrigation. And last but not least, Burley Veterinary Hospital, 2869 Overland and Burley. They're great vets. You bet they're great folks. Dr. Wally Ward and Scott Morley working on small and large animals. They are there when you need a vet, and the best at Burley Veterinary Hospital in Burley. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Good morning. Where is Mike Simpson hiding?
Why do you say he's hiding?
Well, we sure haven't heard anything from him since the primary.
No,
I'm all those commercials.
And I'm agreeing with you, Keith. As a matter of fact, I want to let everybody know that I have called the office no less than probably 3 or 4 times, left messages about what's going on, how come we haven't heard. I've got questions. These folks that listen to my program deserve answers. And so here's what I've got on my list here, Keith. As a matter of fact, I wrote it down early this morning. I'm booked solid this week, but I will make allowances. If Mike Simpson has the time to come on this program, I will cancel certain segments and get him on the air, because I am absolutely astounded that a United States congressman like Mike Simpson, first of all, came out in condemnation of Michelle Bachmann when she wrote a letter concerning the Islamic forces in our White House and administration. I'm going to ask him point blank blunt, now with ISIS and all the problems with Islam, is he ready to change his attitude and opinion?
Yeah, why don't you let the people know where he stands? Because the way he's doing this right now, he's going to hand this election to Richard Stallings, who is, well, a wolf lover, I'll put it that way, and leave it at that.
Well, I think that it's not a gimme that he's going to win. That's for sure. I'm talking about Mike Simpson. And he better be very concerned about Richard Stallings. But here's the thing I want to know. I want to know what our United States Congressman is doing, thinking, and trying to achieve right now. And nobody that I know of in the media is really getting some good answers from him because he seems like he's gone under the radar. I can't find the man.
I don't think anyone else can either. I think he probably looked up the word vacation in the dictionary, and he's living it right to the limit.
Yeah, he's on the same golf course with Obama. Hey, Keith, I got to run. Thank you, my dear friend. Thank you. I got other calls lined up. I'll be right with you. Caller number 2, don't go away. Denny's Restaurant. For those of you that have not eaten at Denny's, now listen, I do not brag about people lightly. I mean it. The food is tremendous. The service is tremendous and friendly, and you will go back. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. We love having our Zeb's Lunch Bunch there. Whether it is breakfast, lunch, or dinner, I absolutely implore you. I want you to go there, take some friends, and just sit back and enjoy the meal. You'll call me and thank me. I mean, senior citizens are treated to the point where there's different discounts with AARP. They've got gift cards available to give a gift card to somebody that you love is hungry and ready for Denny's Restaurant. 611 Overland and Burley. You stop in today. Like I said, you'll thank me. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Hoss, this is the Chief.
Yeah, Chief, go ahead quickly, please.
I can't believe Iraq over there. We spend all that money in our troops' lives to give them a taste of freedom, and then the first time that they get a little pressure, they throw their weapons down and run. You know, what a waste. The whole thing was a big waste. And then the world right now, it seems like it's soaked with gas, and all it's going to take is some bad guy with the matches, and our president's on vacation.
You know, Chief, that was very well stated. The whole world is soaked with gas right now, and all it's going to take is for some fool or a group of fools with a match to ignite it into a absolute consuming fire that might never be put out. I totally agree with you, and Obama takes off after a very short news conference on Friday, answering select questions, and he goes on vacation. And you know, I don't begrudge anybody on vacation. But I will say this, Chief, as the world right now is a tinderbox, it's a lousy time to go and enjoy yourself.
Well, guys on vacation all the time. How many vacations do these government workers get?
Well, I know that he's always in informative situations with people that are there telling him, Mr. President, this is happening, Mr. President, this is happening. I understand that. But it's the perception that this man isn't doing anything to put out these problems. He's on a golf course, or he's trying to act like a basketball player on a little court someplace. I'm absolutely offended by him and his entire administration.
Well, I guess the way it works is some people just have to be conquered. It must be these Iraqis are spineless. The first pressure they get, they run out there and lay their weapons down, and then they put out a big cry for help. Come and help, help. Well, they should have helped themselves.
Yeah.
I'm pretty disgusted with it.
I have a lot of respect for the way you phrased that. The world has been consumed with gasoline, and some kook and crackpot group is going to strike the match. Chief, it's good to hear from you. I got to get a weather forecast in. Thank you so much. God bless. That was well stated, and appreciate his calling in. Hey, by the way, Snyder Surplus, remember, they're not just army and hunting supplies. No, they've got so much more. And I mean, my goodness sakes, they got hardware, anything you might need, and they got all kinds of furniture, desks, and office chairs. I got to get over there. I wrecked my office chair. And they've got dry erase boards, and they got tables and chairs. They got everything over there at Snyder Surplus. Brand new store, located at 112 South, 200 West of Rupert. Brand new merchandise, and always the same friendly service. At 112 South, 200 West of Rupert, Snyder Surplus. You stop in and see them today. I'll take some more phone calls right after after the weather. And the weather is brought to you by Burley Glass this hour, working hard to provide great service to all the communities in Magic Valley. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, with Gentle Ben and Leslie and the crew, 678-1459. And now here is Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers is up at the ranch, start of a brand spanking new week of humid and sunny weather. Don't buy into it all. You're going to see some showers in the forecast, possibly after lunchtime today. And then later on this evening, the clouds will increase, and by tomorrow you'll be walking into heavy showers and thunderstorms for tomorrow and also for tomorrow night. Daytime highs for today, 89 for the high, 63 for the overnight low, and then the temperatures will get cooler as this frontal system passes through the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
World's best weatherman, MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by the folks that can put in windows that'll increase the energy efficiency of your home by 2 to 3 times. How do I know? Well, I had them do it to my house. Oh, this office is a lot nicer. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-1459, bringing you the weather for this hour. I got to ask Gina, I forgot. Did I have a call waiting or not? I've been running. I got 2. Thanks, Gina. I appreciate it. Caller, good morning. Number 1, you're on the air. Go ahead.
You are wondering where Mr. Mike Simpson is? He's busy writing excess letters. My wife and I, in the last week, have got 2 letters apiece from him, and they said identically the same things.
You know, I couldn't help but hear Helen. Her voice does carry, and she didn't need the receiver or the mouthpiece on the telephone. Thank you, Helen. That sums it up. Thank you so much. Rotten, you better go sit down and behave yourself. Helen's on the warpath.
I know.
All right, God bless you, man. Thank you. I heard Ellen all the way in the background. She stated it like it is. They're all, and you heard the rest of it. Caller number 2, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb.
Yes, sir.
Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give me a minute to set this up. But if you look at history, like what was going on around the turn of the last century with the progressive movement developing, and of course with the development and the birth of the Muslim Brotherhood, and all through the early 20s and into the 30s with the upcoming of the Nazi Party in Germany and how they were taking over everything, the lackadaisical attitude of the president, Roosevelt, but anyway, when World War II first started, when Germany invaded Poland, took that last stick, well, that's a problem over there, we don't want to get involved. And in Great Britain, when Neville Chamberlain, and I think you know who he was,
yes,
took this, well, it's not our problem, that's over there. And then nobody ever stood up against the Nazis in their start of their attempted takeover of the world with their axis of Italy and Japan. If you look at what's going on now, the lackadaisical attitude of this administration here in the United States, after the United States and the NATO alliance went over and took down the dictators, which I think was, in one way or another, kind of a mistake, because the dictators tended to keep those radical groups in check because they were against them. If you look at the groups of Muslims that were, there.
Okay, hurry up and make your point fast, because I'm running out of time. Go ahead.
I've got a feeling that with the way that things are going right now, I see that we are possibly on the crux of World War III, and it'll be between the Christians and the Muslims, basically.
I'm not going to dispute your thinking on this at all, because I think a holy war is looming on the horizon, and we're seeing an absolute influx of the terror and the crime and the total, absolute despot thinking from the radical Islamic left that's trying to just go out and behead children and put their heads on posts and burn people alive and throw people in pits and cover them up alive. This is despicable, and we've got to stand up and fight back. And it may very well turn into a worldwide Christian versus Muslim war. It very well could turn out that way. But we need leadership from the White House, and it's not being shown by this administration.
That's correct, but and it's the people of this country, I think they are, like the chief said, they're so naive to believe that that's not going to come here. They're sadly mistaken.
Absolutely.
Because they are already here.
Absolutely.
They have their camps here. They have their cells here. And I got a feeling that we're going to be facing it right here on our own soil in our own country if this administration doesn't change in 2016 and we get a leader in there that'll stand up and say, all right, that's enough.
I agree. I got to run, and I do appreciate your comments because I think you're right on the money. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate that.
Bye-bye.
But therein is another concerning issue. I have read lately so much about Hillary Clinton, and she is, for some reason, the designated poster child for the Democratic Party to become president in 2016. That remains to be seen. But next week, I'm going to give you a little heads up on this. Next week on Tuesday, you do not want to miss. We are very fortunate and blessed to have Mr. Ron Kessler coming back on our program again, and he's just written a book. He was featured again on national news this morning and over the weekend in regarding the secrets of what's going on behind the scenes politically, especially with Hillary Clinton. And she is, by all intents and purposes, a very vile, nasty woman. And some of the things she said and done, we all need to be very, very careful of. And I certainly hope she does not get the nod to be the Democratic nominee. And I certainly hope that somebody in the Republican Party will wake up and put the light bulb back in the ceiling and turn it on so that everybody can see how stupid they have been, and try to right some of the wrongs of their incompetency and get a party unity going and start playing the game the way it needs to be to win. I don't see that happening right now. I want to remind everybody about the Gooding County Fair. Gooding County Fair all this week. My goodness sakes, right now they're weighing in the pigs over there. You better believe it. And then don't forget, tomorrow they're going to have all kinds of great things going on. I mean, they've got excellent exhibits over at the Gooding County Fair. And then don't forget, they've got all kinds of street dances going on. And they have fun over at Gooding at their county fair. I mean, fun reigns supreme. And they're on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday going to have the big PRCA rodeo, and then music to follow with the Garage Boys Band. Hey, they really know how to rip up a good storm, I'll tell you that. They're good. And all this activity is taking place over in Gooding at the Gooding County Fair. 89th Annual Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo in Gooding. Everybody be there. We're going to have Ron Gill on the phone with us a little bit later on this morning, okay? Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to get this in, and I mean this. And there are those out in the audience that will be offended by these remarks. So be it. Illegal alien children are a danger to our schools and our kids and our families because of their non-vaccination programs. Now, I want to give credit where credit is due. You know that I've had kind of a running battle with the Times News and their editorial staff. But, in this case over the weekend on Saturday, they did run on their op-ed page the facts about vaccinations. And it is absolutely scary. It's sinister that less than 60% of Idaho's 2-year-olds are vaccinated. And that's one of the lowest rates in the nation. And I am so fed up, and I mean this, and here's where somebody's going to be offended. I am so fed up with parents that absolutely do not understand vaccination programs and have decided not to vaccinate their children and have left them open for measles, whooping cough, and yes, even possibly polio to raise its devilish, monstrous head again and possibly infect these children. And I absolutely cannot understand how parents can possibly risk their children's health with a non-vaccination hysteria. It makes no sense to me. And I was very happy to see the Times News agree with me, and their last phrase in their article that they had in Sunday's paper was this: those who send their unvaccinated children into society are risking the well-being of all of us. It's downright poor citizenship. I totally agree, and in this case, give total kudos to the Times News for what they had in the paper on Saturday. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my. They are busy. They've got the best in tires. You know that. All the different tread designs. And they, of course, have all the different tires for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever you need tires for. And they've got the best in front-end alignments for better handling and tire mileage, the very best of shocks and struts, the very, very best of brake service, always. And they just really take care of you. They really, when you drive in the yard at any one of the 7 businesses here in Magic Valley, bingo, they're going to take care of you. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Real quick, I got a minute left.
Yes, you know, you were just talking about the Times News and the vaccination record. Would you take anything that was printed in that corrupt paper as being honest, right, in any way?
Yes, I will. I will, Jerry. Jerry, I will, because I agree with them, and I think credit should have been given to them. It's absolutely, I think, child abuse not to go and get your children vaccinated. And the Times News agreed with me in that story.
I think everybody ought to be getting their vaccinations, and they should be taken care of.
All right, then you shouldn't.
Do not trust a word that comes out in the Times News.
Well, that's being ambiguous, and that's being oxymoronic about it, because the Times News agreed with us, and I will give credit where credit is due. You can condemn them all you want, Jerry, but when they do come out with something that is right, I'm going to give them credence.
Well, you do that. I can't trust them.
All right. Well, then you don't trust the story. All right, sir. Thank you. God bless. No, I think when somebody does come out with something that is absolutely right, you must give them credence. And just to condemn them overall, I can't do that. I've got to be fair. In this business, I've got to be fair. Times News, I do agree with you on the vaccinations. Thank you. And we're going to be back in about 6 minutes. Don't go away. Oh my, welcome back. Hour number 2, Zev at the Ranch on a Monday, August 11th. Oh my goodness, lots of fair activities going on this week. And Zev at the Ranch, of course, sponsored by your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And some of our great advertisers that include, of course, Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always the Georgia soul. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at Georgia soul. Western Waste Services.
Western Waste Services always at your disposal, and don't forget, too, like I've been telling you, they've got all the dumpsters in various sizes ready for you. Whether you're cleaning out the basement or cleaning out the garage, whatever, they've got the dumpsters. Fill them up, and they'll come and get them. Absolutely the best folks in the country, and they're waiting to serve you at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. And also, I want to say how much I appreciate the wonderful, wonderful folks over at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with Joe Heward, the manager. I mean, we're talking some wonderful people that really care about the community, and they know that grieving families, they absolutely need the help. They need the trust in a funeral director, and that's why people call Hanson Mortuary at 436-5636, Joel Heward. And they always treat everyone with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. So please call them today and get the pre-planning of funerals that we all should take the time and effort for. 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary in Rupert. Really nice people. We just had a text come through from Gina, and she said that Frosty hasn't called in yet. Is that right?
That is correct.
Not good. So give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We'll open up the phone lines and look forward to having you folks give me a jingle. By the way, again, I want to remind you, while I'm waiting for your calls, Frosty Woolridge is supposed to be calling in. Hopefully he's going to get to a phone. And don't forget, this week, along with all the different fairs, the Gooding County Fair is off and running. Oh, my goodness sakes, they're signing everything in today. I mean, they're bringing all the livestock in this morning. They're bringing in all the exhibits. They've got a full week of fair and fun, and we're going to be talking to Don Gill on that, just as I said a little bit later on this morning. And an excellent rodeo on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then, after the rodeo, they've got the Garage Boys Band, Shoot Number 7. Oh, they do play up a storm. All of this fun at the Gooding County Fair and Rodeo, 89th annual, going on in the good town of Gooding. Don't you miss a minute of it. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and I'm so blessed that he called in this morning. Frosty Woolridge, my dear friend, how in the world is the bike trip going?
Well, good morning, Zeb, and good morning, each listener of the Zeb at the Ranch. And yes, it's a sunny morning here in northern Oregon. We're just south of Cape Lookout. And for anyone who has traveled the coast of Oregon, spectacular sights. I know most people listening this morning have seen, like, Haystack Rock at Cannon Beach, Fort Clatsop, where Lewis and Clark wintered in 1805 to 1806 before returning back to St. Louis, and the epic journey, Corps of Discovery. And the lighthouses built in the 1850s, Faribault Chile, I think, was built in 1855. This coastline, beyond spectacular. And, of course, the birds, and along the ways, we've been stuffing ourselves with juicy, plump blackberries that just grow along the road, and that has been just a treat. And of course, stopping and talking with people along the way has just been absolutely wonderful, and of course also sobering. So yeah, it's just been a continuing. For those of you who like to see a lot of pictures, you can go to Sandy's Facebook page, SANDI, last name LYNN, and you can see all of the pictures, or my Facebook, Frosty Woolridge, Facebook, and you'll see all these pictures along the way. And it's been absolutely delightful on so many levels.
All right, now, Frosty, you've been asking a lot of people questions. You've been asking people that are your common boots on the ground American citizens that are very concerned about what's going on in this country regarding illegal immigration and Obama's administration. What are you finding out in general thought? What are you finding out from these people?
Well, 2 days ago, we spoke with a lady in Garibaldi, Oregon. And in Garibaldi, this couple just engaged us, Ed and Lonnie. And they really laid it out. They're Oregonians. And he is a carpenter, and she is a oral surgeon, dental oral surgeon assistant, and she's very articulate. And she just said, "I'm sick of it." And that's been one of the better comments. I'm sick of immigration. And she said very articulately, both legal and illegal. And here are the reasons. They come over here with no skills whatsoever. They come from, and she was, I almost thought I was talking to myself here. Where do they come from? 120, 150 countries? And they don't have any idea of what America's all about. And they go on welfare. And she was very upset about that because she said, I've worked for 35 years as an oral surgeon assistant, and my tax dollars pay for all these people that come over to this country, have no skills, and they don't and won't and don't even try to speak English anymore. There are so many of them. And I was just like, holy cactus, she must have been reading all of my commentaries for the last 10 years. So she was upset about that. And her husband, who was a carpenter, said, my best jobs get taken away by Mexicans that are here illegally, and also by legal immigrants that just come in and undercut every job and my sons can't get a job. And that was about a half hour, and then of course I gave them a capsweb.org business card so they could join, and also numbersusa.org in order to empower themselves. So that was very positive, and that was just really a sobering conversation because she was very articulate. Now, we came along the coast by Cape Lookout yesterday, and for those of you who have been by Cape Lookout, you have to climb for about 3 or 3.5 miles, so that took us a couple of hours. And then you get onto the top, but you go down, and just before you get up to Cape Lookout, or no, just after you get down to Cape Lookout, there's an inland estuary, and there was a big sign there, and we stopped, and no one spoke English, but they didn't speak Spanish either. They were speaking Chinese, and they were speaking, we think, Korean, and then we think they were speaking Vietnamese. Mm-hmm. And on the sign, there were 4 different languages, and we're pretty sure one was absolutely Chinese, another was, we think, was Vietnamese, the other was Mexican, and then there was English. So we are now catering to all of these different languages in our country because these people are not citizens, they don't understand English, and they don't care to speak English. And so instead of our country maintaining our posture as an English-speaking country, we're bowing to the sheer numbers. And as they came up from their clam, they were out clam digging and oyster, hunting. They were all Chinese, and they were, we think, Korean, and definitely Vietnamese. And that's what those folks do, I guess. I don't know exactly. But we didn't hear any English from all of them. Mm-hmm. So that's another sign that we're losing our country to all of these multiple languages. And then I talked to a shop lady, and she said at one end of the town, there's 2 trailer courts. She says, my kids can't get a job. And this is another lady totally, and she was a shopkeeper. And she said that these Mexicans took over both trailer courts on both ends of town, and she only allowed 2 into her store at one time because she was being shoplifted to death. And again, I said this many times in the past. I don't know how many people realize this, but shoplifting accounts for $25 million a day lost out of mercantile stores across America.
Right.
$25 million. Look it up. You'll see it on any Google. That $25 million gets shoplifted in goods. And obviously, poor people shoplift, and there are actually organized gangs of shoplifters, Mexican, actually, in places like New York City, but they're branching out. There are many different groups of immigrants now that are shoplifting in really organized crime fashion. So she talked about that, and she said the tragedy is that no one gets a job. Now, last night we stopped in this little town just south of Pacific City, and the lady said all the milkers in this area, milking cows and Tillamook, went to the Tillamook cheese factory. This lady said, none of our kids can get jobs anymore. They can't get jobs at restaurants. They can't get jobs washing dishes. They can't get jobs as waiters. They can't get jobs as waitresses. They can't get any of these jobs that we used to do because of the immigrants, both legal and illegal. So that, and I had an extensive conversation with her. She was a motel owner, and she was 60 years old. And she says it's very frustrating that our own citizens can't get jobs. That has been some of the conversation. Now, another conversation, totally clueless. Didn't realize there was a problem. Didn't understand, didn't care, and just flat. That was about 3 different conversations. They just weren't aware of immigration and or any concern about it. Although another one said, she's an ex-teacher, and she said, how can we possibly take 50 to 60,000 kids from Central America and just shove them into school systems and overwhelm the school systems and think that we're going to have education for our own kids? So those are the conversations this week, Zeb.
No, well, wait a minute. I mean, let's address that. That lady asked the question that is now starting to crop up in many, many different newscasts, many different newspapers, etc. How are communities going to absorb 50 to 60,000 kids? How are communities going to absorb the cost factor with limited budgets? How are health and welfare agencies going to absorb the cost? How are teachers and educators going to push them into the system and expect others not to be suffering from their being there? How are we going to put them in the schools that are non-vaccinated and increase the risk of all these diseases? I mean, there's the question right there, and it branches off into about 30 or 40 other questions. How are we going to do this?
You really have just rung the bell on that. We're not going to be able to continue to absorb not only these illegal aliens and the 50 to 60,000 kids that could turn into 100,000. You know, I catch newspapers along the way because we stop at restaurants and we have morning breakfast and we just enjoy the delight of traveling. And you know, there's a floating right now that Barack Obama is going to give an executive order amnesty. This man doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't understand the consequences, just like he didn't understand the consequences of giving that a child amnesty last year that now has burgeoned into the 60,000 of the kids that are racing across the borders that somebody shipped up here from Central America with a lot of organization. That didn't just happen. Well, it's going to not just happen again, because with any kind of an executive amnesty, you're going to see unbelievable numbers of people charging across our borders to get into any kind of an amnesty that they can get into. And so this president is out of touch. I think it was Senator Jeff Sessions, who's probably the most articulate senator from Alabama, a couple of weeks ago said he wrote a personal letter to every senator and House member saying, we can't keep doing this to ourselves. We cannot sustain this. He said financially we can't sustain it. So I hope that many listeners are calling Jeff Sessions and writing Jeff Sessions and thanking him and encouraging him to stand up and talk about the fact that we are on course to add 100 million immigrants to this country within 3 decades, within 30 years. Because if we don't, again, as I've said many times, we're going to become the victims of our own destiny, and that is not going to be a very nice destiny for our children.
Yeah, and I'm going to say something else, and I mentioned it the first hour, and I'm going to say it again. And if people don't agree with me, I don't care, because this has got to be said. We are looking at nationwide parents that are not immunizing their children because of absolutely backward thinking and hysteria driven by the internet stories and everything else that are totally untrue, and where they're not vaccinating their children. And then with these children coming in from South America and across the border and infiltrating our school systems, we are opening the door for a resurgence of not only whooping cough and measles and chicken pox, but also dangerous, deadly diseases that I know more of than anybody, and that's polio. And Frosty, we better be careful, because the door is open.
That's correct. And what is frightening to me is that you're one of the bravest radio talk show hosts in the country to actually spell this out. I got on the Thom Hartmann show last week because he was spouting all of this absolute malarkey and about immigration. And I got on, and for those of you who do not know Thom Hartmann, he's a liberal. And he is a liberal, and he is listened to all over the country. And you would think that he's intelligent. I got on the show, and I started saying, this is not a liberal agenda or a conservative agenda or even an independent agenda. I would like to have you start interviewing some of the top demographic experts around the country to the fact that we're about to add 100 million immigrants to America within 3 decades, about 36 years from now, by 2050. He says, no, that's just not true. And then I started citing the truth of it. I said, actually, sir, it is true. I said, I'm a math and science teacher, and I've traveled all over the world. And we are on course right now with the 1965 Immigration Reform Act to continue adding between 1 million and 1.2 million people to our country every year from 150 countries around the world. And you can go to the U.S. Census Bureau and check it out along with their birth rates. And I spelled the birth rates out. I spelled the numbers out. And I said our own population momentum. And I said check out the Pew Research Center and check out the Fogel-Martin U.S. population projections. And yes, it is true. We're on course to add 138 million people. And I said, that's a fact. That's a demographic fact. He says, well, and he was blown away that I brought back the citations for that. And then he says, well, we could, as long as they're legal, we can handle all that. And I said, no, sir, we can't. And I spelled out, just like all of the listeners of the Zeb at the Ranch have listened to me for the last number of years now, you know I know what I'm talking about, and I have the facts and the figures with me. And I said, how are we going to face the water shortages? How are we going to face the scarcity of resources that were, and I started citing the books like the book by Chris Cludston, which is brilliant, called Scarcity, how our nation is not going to have enough of the resources to continue at this level of wealth and of usage. Well, I got into so many facts, he couldn't refute them. Guess what he did? He shut me down and shut off the whole interview.
Oh, man. You know, that's just what really bothers me, Frosty, and I've only got a minute left, is that the liberal left, they absolutely, when they get cornered like a bunch of rats, they either bite or they run away. And it looks like that's what happened in this case.
That's exactly right. Thom Hartmann could not handle the facts. And since he couldn't, and I'll tell you this, he's the same guy that I sent his producer 2 years ago, my new book, America on the Brink, the next added 100 million Americans. And within 20 minutes of the hour interview with him and my book, and I gave him all of the questions he could ask, I had this interview all set up, he shut the interview down. He shut the interview down, and I never got another call. And he gave the excuse as, well, we got a big crisis here. And I never got called again. And so that, I can tell you this, the people that are in high places that do not want to deal with another 138 million people being added to this country, do not want to be dealing with 100 million immigrants from 150 countries that are absolutely swamping our country and taking jobs away from American citizens. They shut down and they continue on their little fairy tale way, and yet the consequences are accumulating, and you are one of the bravest and most courageous and articulate speakers out there that actually is facing this head on. And that's the tragedy here. There should be 1,000 radio talk show hosts doing the same thing that Zeb Bell is doing right now, and that is bringing the truth to what Americans face and what their children face if we allow this unending onslaught, this invasion of legal and illegal immigrants into this country.
Absolutely. Frosty, what's the schedule for next week? Where are you going to be next Monday?
Okay, well, next Monday I will. I'm about halfway down through Oregon right now, a third of the way through Oregon, and I will be in California. And again, I've already been to Northern California. There are whole colonies. The Chinese have taken over these cities in Northern California, and of course that's all they speak is Chinese. The schools are going Chinese, and there's just no assimilation whatsoever. So I'm going to be in Northern California. I will continue to ask the questions. I will continue to observe, and I suspect that I'm taking these notes just like I did this morning. I'm reading off my notepad here. I will bring you more of the answers by American citizens that I can find along the way. And I'm even going to continue to ask any of those who are foreigners. It was really amazing yesterday. There were a bunch of Muslims at the beach here in Kiwanda, beach just south of Cape of Lookout. And all these Muslim women are all dressed up, and they're all, they've got nothing showing but slits for their eyes and these black outfits. And some of them had colorful outfits, and they're on the beach, not in bathing suits, not with any sense of freedom, not with their faces showing, but just totally covered up. And their men, of course, as you know, in the Muslim world, completely dominate their women and subjugate them to whatever their whims are.
Absolutely.
It's almost fascinating beyond belief that these Muslim women were out on the beach where the rest of everybody was out there in bathing suits and having a frolicking good time, flying kites and so forth. Talk about a mismatch of cultures and a mismatch of folks that we're bringing into this country that have literally no idea what it is to be an American. It was astounding, and I'm sure I'm going to see more of that as I get into California, because California absorbs 1,655 new people every 24 hours, virtually all of them legal and illegal immigrants, and they simply are not becoming a part of America, and California will be one of our most foreign states here in the coming years, because it won't speak English and it won't be American. It'll be nothing but foreigners that have come into this country, and all the consequences that will entail.
I got to run, Frosty, but God bless. Have a very safe trip. I'm looking forward to next week's report right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Thank you much, my dear friend. The very best to you and your lovely wife, Sandy.
Godspeed, and thank you, Zeb, and I'll be talking to you next Monday, and we'll have a heck of a report for you.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Dear friend Frosty Woolridge and his tour all the way down the west coast of America. Thank you very much. Got to pay some bills, and we want to remind everybody about Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Wonderful people, Kyle and Whitney Cheney. They take great pride in keeping up with the latest trends and designs. Don't forget, they're having a back-to-school sidewalk sale the 18th through the 23rd. That's next week, so you be sure and stop in and check out all the things that you'd like to try to win, like a back-to-school gift basket that includes a 30-minute massage gift card for mom and school supplies. All of this and more at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Schedule a free in-home design consultation with Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Also, want to remind everybody about our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. when you think about life insurance and health insurance and retirement planning and employee benefits, yes, you definitely want to always think about Cameron and Siemens Insurance. These are wonderful people that absolutely are professionals at what they do. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. The number to call, 436-4424. Did you hear that? Did you hear what I was just saying? Oh, you missed it? Well, maybe you'd better get a hold of our dear friend Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Did you hear that? Well, you need to have your hearing checked because hearing loss is not a part of aging. Do not ignore hearing loss. It's not an age problem. It might be something very serious. So check that out today with Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, and she's located right behind the Minidoka Hospital emergency room, and you can't miss it. The number to call for an appointment, remember this, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 312-0957. Did you hear that? 312-0957. Thank you very much. Okay, let's get on the phone line right now, and we're going to go over to the Alliance Defending Freedom and visit with some really nice people, especially this young lady, Kelly Fedoruk. Good morning, Kelly. How are you?
Good morning. I'm well. How are you doing?
Oh, great. Here we are already in the middle part of August. The summer is just absolutely scurrying by. And I wanted to ask you, there seems like every single week, Kelly, we have something new, something more heinous to report about Planned Parenthood. And now we're hearing about sexual assault of children. What's going on with Planned Parenthood and their covering up of some of these illegalities?
Well, Planned Parenthood has a pattern and practice of covering up the rape of young girls and failing to report those rapes, even though Planned Parenthood is a mandatory reporter of that. So just last week, Alliance Defending Freedom filed a complaint with the Arizona Department of Health Services asking the agency to investigate Tempe Planned Parenthood facility under a new state law in Arizona that empowers such investigations to ensure that the safety and protection of young girls in this state.
Why in the world, in today's age of where it's really hard to cover up any information with the computers and all the research and everything, why would they try to cover something up like this knowing that eventually they would get caught?
So unfortunately, Planned Parenthood has demonstrated that it cares more about its bottom line than the health and safety of young women. And they often find it too much of a hassle to report such incidents. But their main concern should be the safety of our young girls, not the size of its profit margin. And unfortunately, the case here in Tempe, this is not an exception. Planned Parenthood is using far more than taxpayer dollars with the number of abortions it does. It's really covering up the victimization and abuse of our young women, and that's truly tragic.
Kelly, why is Planned Parenthood still receiving all of the taxpayer dollars? Why are they still the golden child, if you will, of this administration and previous administrations as far as funding is concerned? Why aren't more people asking questions, and why isn't more done legally to check on Planned Parenthood and possibly even shut them down?
Well, I think that there is a strong effort to investigate and to expose the tragedies that are going on inside Planned Parenthood, whether that's their failure to report statutory rape, whether that's the number of abortions that they perform, and there are many other abuses of women in terms of the standards that their clinics are held to. So there are efforts both on a congressional level to investigate them and a legal level to expose the potential fraud and abuse that they are embarking upon with regards to taxpayer dollars. going toward abortion, and also being used in terms of their sex ed programs, which are advocating dangerous sexual practices to our young teenagers. So they are a big they're a big abortion industry, and unfortunately they have the ear of some of the most powerful in the political process. But there are strong legal efforts to try to expose them and help the American people understand this is not a place of refuge for our young women. This is a place that's dangerous to their health and well-being of young women.
Absolutely. Now, we've got one other story I want to visit about a little bit, and I want to preface my remarks about this by saying I'm absolutely frustrated and downright mad that almost, and I believe I'm correct on the figures, 80% of Americans still want marriage between a man and a woman. And I think it should be a states' rights issue. I believe that we all should have a voice in saying what's right and what's wrong, and the majority rule. But this insidious problem that's going on across our country to deface and absolutely denigrate marriage gets bigger all the time. Tell us what's happening in Oklahoma, if you would, Kelly.
Well, just last week we filed our cert petition with the U.S. Supreme Court asking the court to uphold the freedom of Oklahomans to affirm marriage as the union of one man and one woman in their laws. And that's because we agree with you. We agree that the people do have this right, that marriage is a unique and special institution, and the state should and do have the freedom to continue to affirm and to protect that special union in their laws as they so choose.
Why are we, in your opinion, Kelly, and I don't mean to beleaguer this fact, but I need to know, why are we as a society ready to turn everything upside down and spill it on the floor and have everything go helter-skelter in this country against moral values, etc., for such a small percentage of people?
Well, I think the question is larger than that. I think we're facing a culture of marriage that has been weakened, and the history behind that has been weakened since the institution of no-fault divorce laws, and we've seen a breakdown in the marriage culture. But that shouldn't make us give up hope. It should only make us fight harder and stronger to rebuild marriage and what it means to be faithful to our spouse, and talk about the importance of family, of the importance of a mom and a dad to their children, and children having that right to grow up and know their mother and father. We need to rebuild and strengthen marriage and family in America, and that's what's going to turn this culture around.
Okay, now, I don't mean to put you on the spot here, Kelly, but how? How? The how is what we need to know. How are we going to put families back as a priority? How are we going to do this and establish right thinking about a man and a woman and a family? How are we going to do that?
I think it starts in the individual families and in our churches. In our individual families, we need to be faithful with our own marriage covenants and the promises we make. We need to be living examples of what it means to be a strong married couple in society, and live that out in our own lives, and be a witness to the truth of marriage and why it matters not only to our children but to society. I think churches can step in and work to strengthen marriage. There's a lot of people out there, I think, who really want to have a strong marriage, but they've never been given an example due to divorce or due to, for whatever reason they may not have had that role model in their own lives. And I think if we can step up and start being role models and show the importance of marriage, show what a good, strong, healthy marriage looks like, that will start a revolution in terms of rebuilding and restoring a strong marriage culture.
You know, Kelly, one of the big problems that we have in this country, and this is the last question I have time for this morning, but I think one of the big problems we have in this country is a news media that has sided on the liberal left with the gays, lesbians, and transgenders, and giving them all the positive press and calling people like you and I hate mongers and bigots, and that's hard to overcome, is it not?
It is difficult. It's definitely an uphill battle, but we have a powerful story, and we need to start telling that story, which is everyone, no matter who you are, no matter what faith background you might be or where you grew up, all of us have a mother and father. We came from a mother and father, and that's a story that no one can change. And so we need to start telling that story. We need to start talking about the common ground we have and the importance that no matter what the other side tries to say or tries to change, you cannot redefine what marriage is. And every single person, it takes a mom and a dad to bring the next generation into life. And we need to start developing and telling our own stories about where we come from and why it's important to know who our parents are and who our grandparents are and why that is so special and so unique to our country and to our society.
Absolutely. Kelly Fedoruk, attorney with the Alliance Defending Freedom, please tell us, how can people follow these stories with ADF?
Well, you can go to our website, which is simply alliancedefendingfreedom.org. And all of our stories, both on Planned Parenthood and how to defend life and how we're working to defend and strengthen marriage, all of these stories can be found at alliancedefendingfreedom.org.
All right. Kelly Fedoruk, God bless you, and thank you for taking the time to be on our program this morning, and we'll look forward to having you back again in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. God bless you, too.
Thank you very much. Nice lady right there. Kelly Fedoruk with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Oh, my. Let's pay some bills here real quick. Don't forget everything that's over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More for your home beautification and your comfort. I mean, all the recliners. And by the way, I want to stress this. When we bought not one, but two recliners over there, oh, man, you got to get in there and you got to try them on. Whether you're really tall or really short, or whether you're really thin or whatever, you've got to get in and try on the recliner that fits you the best for the most comfort. And they've got, I think, one of the largest displays you'll ever see right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. All the recliners, power recliners, all the sofas, all the love seats, everything. Carpet, my goodness sakes, thinking about carpeting the living room? Well, they've got rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls of carpet, everything you're looking for right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Really nice people. Oh, and by the way, too, don't forget, let's ride Highway 24. I talked to Nick the other day, as a matter of fact. Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Oh, they're open Monday through Saturday. Yep. They're summer hours, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m., and they've got just all the 2015 models are coming in right now. Right now. Dirt bikes, Can-Am, side-by-sides, and they've got rebates on a lot of the 14 models. Wow, it is a busy place. I mean, they are really busy serving you where the fun is sold. Remember that. That's where the fun is sold. You go on in there, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, throw the door open and say, Zeb Bell, Sammy. They'll take care of you at Let's Ride. Get over there today. We're going to have a weather forecast real quick, and then I'm going to visit with Gina just for a couple of minutes here about another Dem congresswoman, as a matter of fact, on a new law that she'd like to see go into effect, so stand by for that. Weather this hour brought to you by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls, with our old buddy Reese Widmeyer, the manager. Oh, my, they are your outdoor adventure partner. Quality gear giving you the edge to perform well and enjoy the journey to the great outdoors, whether it's hunting, fishing, archery, camping, boating, ATVs, electronics, you name it, it's all there at Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers with Zeb at the Ranch, start of a brand spanking new week of humid and sunny weather. Don't buy into it all. You're going to see some showers in the forecast, possibly after lunchtime today. And then later on this evening, the clouds will increase, and by tomorrow you'll be walking into heavy showers and thunderstorms for tomorrow and also for tomorrow night. Daytime highs for today, 89 for the high, 63 for the overnight low, and then the temperatures will get cooler as this frontal system passes through the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather, it is the only weather you got.
There you go. Michael Rogers Weather brought to you this hour by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Now, I have a dilemma. I don't know whether...
There's no phone call. There's no phone call.
You confused me, my dear.
I was like, dang it. Did it again.
Now, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I've known Gina for quite a few years. And the words, dang it, were not the words that crossed through her lips.
No, but on air it is.
Did you hear about this another dim congresswoman? She wants to put a special tax. Now listen to this, as a mom and a homemaker, you are going to be frustrated by this. She has introduced a bill, and she's from back in New York. She's introduced a bill that would put a special tax on you every time you go to a grocery store and buy something that contains sugar at the store. She said the government should regulate how much sugar you have, and she wants to have you and me and everybody else be watched by what we buy, what we purchase, and pay a special tax if there is sugar in the product.
There's sugar in every product.
Oh, gee, Gina, so you're saying that maybe that's an all-encompassing tax just to get more money from you and me?
Yes, because there's sugar in everything. You look at the ingredients, doesn't matter what you buy, aside from like maybe a vegetable, and still, if it's fresh, there's still sugar in it. There's sugar in everything.
I am so sick and tired of the food police, and especially these dim-dims that want to absolutely encroach into our lives like roaches and tell us what we can do and what we can't do, what we can eat, what we can't eat. Leave me alone. Leave everybody alone. But I'll tell you what the motivating factor is behind this, and it's Obamacare, whether you believe it or not.
Yes.
If they want a one-size-fits-all, they're going to tell everybody on a single-payer system, if it goes that way, you can't have this or you won't be insured.
Here's my question. Okay, so say I'm doing a bake sale and I need a whole bunch of sugar. Am I going to be taxed like 3 times the amount just because I went and bought like a 5-pound bag of sugar?
Yep.
That's ludicrous.
It's absolutely insane. Because what it's doing now, and we're seeing this start to come around the corner like we said a year ago on this program, that the food police literally are going to be right there at the checkout stands, and they're going to be taxing you for everything they deem you should not buy.
They tax us for everything anyway. They just want more of our money because they need more for their big government.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we have a call?
Yes.
Oh, okay. This time you're sure?
This time I'm
okay. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
It's just turbulence.
Okay, well, that's better than another word I thought you might use. Go ahead.
Oh. But, you know, I'm getting sick and tired of these people like that and sit back there and think of tax. Didn't we whip the British on account of their damn tax?
No taxation without representation, absolutely. And, Al, it's going to get a lot worse because here's the thing, Al, and you can see through this. All they want to do by having these taxes is just literally take the money and not put it into special funding for maybe Social Security or anything else. They just want the money to spend. That's all they want.
I know it. Give it to the unions and all that.
There you go.
It's about time, people, we stood up and we had a revolution that says, that's it. You're only going to get so much of my tax dollars, and after that, you go fish for something else because you're not getting another penny.
I couldn't agree more, but you know something, Al? Think back of the freedoms you've lost. Think back of the things that they're trying to come in and say that Big Brother's going to authorize or not authorize or make legal or illegal. And honestly, I think within our lifetimes, we are going to see more of the food police atmosphere, not only in the fast food drive-ins, not only in restaurants, but also right there in the grocery stores, to where they're going to regulate through taxes what you can eat or not.
I'd like to ask that lady, how much would she put a tax on me, being I'm so sweet?
Oh, boy. There's the end of that story. Thank you very much, Al.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a good day. Calls welcome 436-2244-1-866-927-4587. Oh, Gina, one other quick story. Are you still there by your microphone?
Yeah.
I wanted you to comment on this. Did you see the ugly tragedy of the race car driver by the name of Ward that was hit by, allegedly, Tony Stewart in New York State? Did you see that?
I did. I watched the video of it. Pretty graphic.
It was graphic, but then I'm just going to throw this out to you. And there have been fights, there have been arguments, there have been confrontations on racetracks for a long, long time. Normally not while the race is going on. I can remember many Daytona races with Bobby Allison and others that have gone to the pits or whatever, and it's turned into a free-for-all. But this guy, this Ward, jumped out of his car on the racetrack and literally was defying death by walking across the racetrack and pointing his finger at Tony Stewart as he drove by. And I watched the video, and I want to see if you agree with me. I watched the video 7 times, and each time I saw Tony Stewart slowing down and actually turning his wheels to the left, the inside, to avoid hitting the guy, but it didn't work. Now, what are your thoughts?
I only watched the video once, but to me it appeared he floated to the right and he was moving up the track instead of down.
Now, I watched the rear wheels and how it started to fishtail and go down towards the inner surface of the racetrack. I honestly do not believe that Tony Stewart in any way, shape, or form tried to hit the guy, but it was an absolute horrendous occurrence.
It was very, very sad. And first and foremost, it's a 50-50 deal, and I really hate to put it that way, but Ward should have not gotten out of his vehicle.
Well,
that's against track policy when you're a racer.
Yep.
And you have to say, if you're okay and it's not on fire and it's not a massive wreck, you have to stay in your vehicle. That is just for safety reasons. I know this. I used to race. So you have to stay in your vehicle unless it's, you're about to explode. But other than that, he should have not gotten out of that. So, he
literally, in the early part of the film, the video, as he gets out of the car, he almost was hit by another vehicle.
2, actually.
Yes.
And they were trying to swerve and miss him, and he's walking straight down the track and pointing at Tony Stewart. You know exactly what he was doing. And but as far as there have been reports that some people actually heard Tony Stewart rev his engine and move forward, and then some people are saying that he was moving down the track. Which, by the way, I just caught up, and no charges will be filed against Tony Stewart on that one.
No, the track manager was on television earlier this morning, and he has to remain impartial on this as they're doing a complete investigation. But I just want to say, I looked at it many, many times, and I will still stand behind my theory that if you look at the rear tires of Tony Stewart's vehicle, the rear tires, you can see a fishtailing effect as to when he tried to slow down and move to the inside apron of the track. I personally think he tried to avoid the guy, but there again, it's all speculation, and I certainly, it's a tragedy, but the main perpetrator of this heinous crime, if you will, was actually the deceased himself by getting out of the vehicle and going on the track.
Correct. He should have never gotten out of the track. Never gotten out of his car. That's against track policy.
Right. Okay. Thank you much. Hey, Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo this week. My goodness sakes, are they busy? Oh, my. Today, they're having all the exhibits check in. Yeah, they are. All the exhibits are checking in. And tomorrow night, my goodness, you've heard about the Chris Cagle concert. Woo! It starts at 8 o'clock. It's going to be fantastic. That guy can really sing country western music. You're going to love that concert tomorrow night. And then, of course, on Wednesday night, they've got the Team Ranch sorting. And don't forget, during the day, they've got all kinds of great things. The carnival, and they've got all the entertainment at the free stage gazebo. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the great big PRCA rodeo. And then, of course, on Friday and Saturday, pari-mutuel horse racing. And on Saturday, also a Dutch oven cook-off. All kinds of fun at your Cassia County Fair Fair and Pro Rodeo. By the way, some of the merchants that want you to be a part of the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, Dot Foods in Burley, they're now hiring. Give them a call, or you can go to their website, driveForDot.com. Number to call, 678-6063. And it's just like working for a big family working for Dot Foods. Give them a call today, 678-6063. Dot Foods in Burley. Also, our thanks go to Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley. And it's a locally owned and operated quality seed at competitive prices. Golden Valley Warehouse, always serving you. And last but not least, Joe Taylor with Carey and Adams Realty, 1826 Overland Avenue in Burley. Buying and selling real estate, one call does it all. 678-9400. My buddy, Joe Taylor with Carey and Adams Realty. All of those folks helping support the Cassia County Fair and Pro Rodeo. What do we got cooking next hour? We're going to be talking to, next hour, Mr. Don Gill over to Gooding. And then at 10:30, we're going to have a dear, dear friend of mine on the air, as he's going to be saying goodbye to Magic Valley, and that is Pastor Alex Lissau. Along with his wife, Barbara, they're going to be leaving the area and going up into eastern Idaho, and we are certainly going to miss them. And he wanted to come on the program and say a thank you and a goodbye to everybody, and we're looking forward to having him on the show at 10:30 this morning. Quick public service announcement. Let me get this in. Tomorrow, Tuesday, August 12th, starting at 7 p.m. at the Comfort Inn, 379 Crossroads in Jerome, Crossroads Point, there is going to be a Common Core Educational Standards meeting, and you can find out more about Common Core. That's going to be tomorrow, 7 p.m., Comfort Inn, 379 Crossroads Point in Jerome. Don't miss it. We'll be back in 6. See you then. Oh my, welcome back. Hour number 3 is Zeb at the Ranch. And of course, we're brought to you by our major corporate sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And along with that, some great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends in Twin Falls and Jerome. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Call them at 734-6969. We're going to have our guest on the phone with us in just a moment. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, you know, they have specials every day. Ripping good specials. Today is no exception. They're going to have breaded chicken with creamy Dijon sauce with choice of potato, vegetables, and super salad, just $8.95. Breaded chicken with creamy Dijon sauce. At the Chadwick Sports Grill, you're going to love the folks, the menu, and, of course, the great sports memorabilia at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today. And real quick, we're very blessed to have the segment on Thursdays called Cassia County School Days, and we have, of course, 2 great businesses that sponsor that at 10:12 on Thursdays, and they are A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. School's around the corner. Just peek around the corner. See, there it is. School's waiting, and they've got all the children's clothing, and they've got the backpacks for $10, and they've got great activity games and tablets for those parents that are going on last-minute road trips before school starts. All of this and more at Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Drive in Burley. And they've saved outpatient surgeries, have saved patients hundreds and hundreds of dollars while receiving outstanding personal care. Call them at 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, 1344 Highland Drive in Burley, and A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Right now, we're going to talk to an old friend of mine. My goodness, we're a little long in the earlobes and gray in the ears. Here's Don Gill over at Gooding. Good morning, Don. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. How are you doing? I don't know if I like the old part. But...
Well, let's just say that we've both aged gracefully. We've known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
Now
You're getting old when you got to cut the hair off your ears more than the ones on your head.
You're not kidding, Don, I'll tell you. But you have done an outstanding job, and I think you need to have the accolades and all the attaboys. You've done a tremendous job in rebuilding and giving a renewed interest and vigor into the Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo.
Well, I've had lots of good help.
Well, now, you've done a lot more than just have good help.
I think the last time you were here, Zeb, it's just a little different.
Oh, it's changed a lot. I announced that rodeo for about almost close to 20 years, and quite frankly, there was, they needed some resurgence. They needed a new facility. My goodness, what you folks have done over there has been outstanding.
Well, thank you. It's been kind of fun.
Well, now tell us a little bit about it, Don. I mean, people don't realize how hard the job of being a fair manager is. Tell us what a day in the life of Don Gill is over at the Gooding County Fair.
Well, the first thing you get up about 5 o'clock in the morning, you just put out one fire after another for a whole week straight with no sleep. But it's all rewarding. We've got a very strong 4-H program in this state, or in this area. The rodeo, I couldn't explain why it's grown like it has, but it just kind of is got to be a life of its own. Rodeo crowds in Gooding will bring signs, dress in costumes. It's more like a football game, or a college football game than a rodeo almost. And the Cowboys love it. They love the crowd. This year, we've expanded our video. We have a video board. We've got a little bigger board this year. Our production crew, they do a lot of the PBRs, and part of the cameramen film the NFR every year. We've got a semi that showed up here last night for the production band. It leaves Gooding, that goes to California for 16 weeks to film the NFL. So we try to give the rodeo fans the best 2 hours entertainment they can possibly get with a rodeo venue.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the other amenities that you provide for and with the rodeo. I've got to hear more about, right after the rodeo, the Garage Boys Band at Chute 7. What in the world is this?
The Garage Boys, they played Cheyenne last year, Reno the year before. They dressed like 50s garage workers, with their name tags and stuff, and they're just great entertainers. They play at Carnival Court there in Las Vegas pretty much the rest of the time. Very entertaining, old rock and roll basically, but they're a very good band. It's all free to the public. Jack Daniels is a sponsor this year. You can have a cocktail and Coors beer.
All right. Now, Don, also, I want to talk a little bit about, everybody's checking in the exhibits today, and is there anything you want to highlight for today and tomorrow and Wednesday prior to the rodeos beginning on Thursday?
Prior to the actual fair itself, we've got 4-H stuff going on. It started last Saturday with the 4-H horse show. That was very well attended, and then we go from there. Wednesday, perhaps 7 p.m. will be the parade. It usually lasts an hour and a half. It's a huge parade. Immediately after the parade at 8 o'clock, we had a gentleman here in town that wanted a memorial for his father and his mother. They were longtime ranchers and real supporters of some of the older cowboys in this area, like Daryl Hawk, Bobby Robinson, and those guys, and he wanted to memorialize him, so he purchased probably one of the coolest bronzes you've ever seen. It was done by a guy by the name of Jeff Wolf. And we'll dedicate that bronze at 8. And then at 9 p.m. on Wednesday is the slack for the WPRA barrel racing. I believe we've got like 80 barrel racers, so we're going to have barrel racers running slack at 9. Mm-hmm. And that's all free to the public. And then Thursday actually starts the rodeo, Thursday 8 o'clock. Contrary to popular belief, there still is a few tickets available. They need to contact the Valley Country Store and any location that can sell you any seat you want.
Okay.
Then the rodeo starts. I think last I just got off the phone with Procom. I think we had 467 some contestants.
Oh, my. You know, there again, I want to back up to what I said at the beginning. It's a tribute to what you and your board members have done over there in Gooding to put a new life, a new blood, and enthusiasm into that rodeo. And I would imagine that also kind of plays over into the other exhibits. People want to show their livestock. They want to show off their crops and their different miscellaneous events at the fair if it's a successful fair.
Yeah. And it's one thing kind of grows from another, and with rodeo, as you know as well as I do, if you don't make your fan happy, none of it works. And so far we've been able to accomplish that.
You know, now, what about, you mentioned tickets for the rodeo. There still are some on sale. And if people want to just come over to Gooding and just enjoy the social amenities of just sticking around at the fairgrounds all day long and then going to the rodeo at night, do you have little park areas where maybe they can just sit and enjoy the shade?
We have great park areas. There's lots of exhibits. And Friday and Saturday is a reunion for the old-time Idaho Cowboy Hall of Fame, and they're a cowboy reunion. And they're more than welcome to go through and look at some of those exhibits. And there's plenty to do every day. And it looks like the weather's going to hold for us, so
yes,
it's always an added plus.
It's supposed to be a nice weekend, and I'm definitely going to be over there on Saturday as part of the Rodeo Legends, and we'll see over there then. But I'm going to give you the floor, Don, and you got a chance right now to invite everybody over to Gooding. Great, great community, and the Gooding County Fair. So you're the salesman. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Well, I'm not much of a salesman, Zeb, but, you know, everybody needs to come. It's a rodeo like you've never experienced before in your life, so I'll guarantee you'll enjoy yourself, and we'll pack it in 2 hours and non-stop action. Tickets are available at the Valley Country Store.
All right. Well, this guy has been a friend of mine for a long, long time. I got a lot of respect for him and his family. Don Gill, manager of the Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo, and I believe this is the 89th annual. Is that correct?
89th. Next year's the 90th.
All right, and best wishes to you and everybody over in Gooding, Don, and I'll be in touch. Thank you so much for coming on the program with us. You bet. Thank you. A lot of fun over at the Gooding County Fair and Pro Rodeo, and I've heard about this Garage Boys band. I've heard they are exceptional, so I want to get over there and take a look at that. Okay, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call, and we'll kind of visit about anything you want for the remainder of this half hour. By the way, I want to go back to something that happened in the first hour, or maybe it was at the beginning of the second hour. I can't remember. I had a call from a dear friend of mine, Jerry Voss, and Jerry was, you know, basically, like I have many times, given condemnation to some of the things that are in the Times News. But I want to go back and say, when someone or a newspaper or something in the media does or says something right, I am going to give them credit. And that's why when this story came out in Saturday's edition in regards to less than 60%, this is terrible, less than 60% of Idaho's 2-year-olds are vaccinated, one of the lowest rates in the nation. I really do, and I mean this, I am going to give kudos to the Times News for bringing this fact out. It's absolutely disgusting to think that parents are not getting their kids vaccinated. And I, like I've said many times on this program, we invite those that have a different mindset on this show, but be prepared, because I find it absolutely almost to the point of child abuse not having your kids vaccinated, whether it's for the measles, chicken pox, whooping cough, or even more serious, insidious diseases that are creeping up in this country, in our school systems, polio. And I commend the Times News for carrying that story and stating the facts as they are. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. This is Jeff calling back again.
Yes, sir.
And I'll mention something about the vaccinations. Now, when I went to school, we had to have a vaccination card, and it had to be up to date or we couldn't go to school.
Jeff, I'm just going to say bluntly, I think that's what it should be. I think that's how it should be, and I think there needs to be much more compliance for the safety of all of us. I think this lackadaisical not taking care of this and letting kids into the school system with the various problems that they're bringing in, especially now, today, more than before, I think is absolutely and utterly ridiculous.
Absolutely, because if these kids coming in that are not vaccinated, and some of them are more likely carriers of some childhood affliction that we got vaccinated for, and with the attitude of some of the parents nowadays, and I blame the media, I blame the internet and the hype and stuff about this vaccines cause autism and stuff. That's a bunch of garbage, in my opinion.
And wait a minute, Jeff. It's not just in your opinion. There's never been anything proven in that regard whatsoever. And like you said, there's been a lot of, the newspaper even said it, internet-driven hysteria and different anti-vaccine conspiracy theories using some of the words that were in their story. I'm absolutely mad, is a simple word, Jeff, that parents would not vaccinate their children today because we're seeing a resurgence. We're seeing an increase in the various childhood diseases that are absolutely insidious, and I don't want to see these kids suffer.
Absolutely. I know you had polio when you were a young person.
That's right.
My own father had polio, and it affected him to an extent. He also had scarlet fever, which are now, both vaccinated for. And, it's just one of those things that when the society seems like they're eradicating something out of the population through vaccinations, they tend to just, ignore it.
They get careless, Jeff. They get careless, and they get lackadaisical, and then they say silly, frivolous things like, well, it's not around anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. Well, by not vaccinating our kids, we're opening the door for these insidious diseases again to be thrust upon society, and a danger and deadly element will come back.
Absolutely. So I don't understand it. To me, like you said, the paper said, or somebody else mentioned that not vaccinating your kids against these diseases is almost a tantamount to child abuse.
Well, I said that, and I'll stand behind my statements. And I've had some parents call me on my cell phone, which they're welcome to at 312-2976. I've had some send emails, and they've been very, very graphic in their negativity towards me. But I, in turn, will be very graphic. I've lived through that deadly disease of polio, and I, along with others in this area that suffered it, know far more than some of these parents that are just guessing as to the severity.
Absolutely. You don't want to bring any of that on anybody. I mean, it's just a terrible thing to allow this to even come back.
I appreciate your call again. Thank you, sir, for all your input. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I just think that I'm going to have Pastor Alex get on the phone here with me. I know you're early, and I'm glad you are, but I want you to get that microphone over there. And good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb.
Real close. Thanks. This is completely off the subject as to what we're going to talk about in about 10 minutes, but one of the things that absolutely is a vendetta for me is for people to vaccinate their kids and take care of all the inoculations so that the dreaded, horrendous, killing diseases don't come back, especially the polios, etc. I've had it. I know how deadly it can be. And why do these parents want to play Russian roulette with their kids?
I have no idea. Why have all the things that have changed the way when I was in elementary school, and admittedly it was a number of years ago, but when I was in elementary school, it was a standard practice to get in vaccinations. You had the smallpox and measles, and you had all these different things that you got shots and vaccinations for. You had the scratches on your arm. We had the TB time test done. We had, in fact, I have a problem when they do the TB time test on me, it shows up. So for years, I had to go get an X-ray, chest X-ray all the time. Right. They just say I'm a carrier, but I don't have it. And it was one of the things that almost precluded my family from being able to bring me to the United States when I was a baby, because when we immigrated to America, because of the positive time test.
Right.
And we used to have the sugar. Remember, they used to put the polio vaccine into the sugar,
absolutely,
the sugar cubes that you got in school, and we conquered those things. Now they're coming back, and you can blame whatever you want to. I blame the government for it because there's a lack of focus on the things that are important.
Well, we made a laxity of the rules, and we've said that you can't get into school without the injections, the inoculations, etc., on a vaccination program, and then slowly but surely it's been weakened to the point where we don't know now, especially with the border problems and these kids coming across from South America, etc. They haven't had a organized vaccination program, and probably I'd say as many as 80% probably maybe have never had shots in their entire life.
Absolutely, I'm sure of that. And most of those places that people grow up in and live in, they have absolutely no medical care whatsoever other than in emergency situations.
That's right. And we're just opening the door for these insidious diseases to come back and make a resurgence. I don't understand why.
Right, well, and I don't either. I think, and especially parents, as I was coming over, I was listening to what you were saying, and I think a lot of people read stuff on the internet. It baffles me how much focus and the whole society has gone that way. I mean, we put so much emphasis and focus on the internet. We put emphasis on Facebook. We put emphasis on, we even watch network television shows that have news programs that are no longer news programs. They've become social programs in which they do everything but report the true facts and news. And we've got, we've put pablum into the place where people need to open their eyes and look at the seriousness of the situations we deal with. And how did we ever get to this point? Well, I mean, we were at one time we were able to survive as a nation and all things were working well. All of a sudden now we can't afford to even buy toilet paper. How's that happening?
I don't know, but due to the fact that I've lived it and have been forced to live with it, and that's being polio since I was 5 years old. Parents, I implore you, it's like the Times News, and I do give credit to the Times News for this story they had. It's downright poor citizenship, and I will stand behind my terminology of a few minutes ago, saying it's almost akin to child abuse, not getting your children immunized.
Amen.
Amen is right. I want to remind everybody about some of our great Cassia County merchants that are helping support this week the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo, and they include Kelly's Bearings, 1407 East Main in Burley. Kelly's Bearing Supply keeps everything on hand so you don't have to waste your time or money running all over for it. They've got the bearings, the chains, the brackets. You'll know where you are when you get your bearings at Kelly's. Kelly's Bearings, 1407 East Main in Burley, along with K&R Rental, 256A South, 600 west of Hayburn, locally owned and operated. From air compressors, pivots, tractors for landscaping, all the lawn and garden equipment, they've got it all for you. At K&R Rental, 256A South, 600 west of Hayburn, 678-3122. And also our friends at Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 south of Burley, 678-3101, offering irrigation system service and repair to Burley since 1978. They manufacture wheel line elbows and all the sales and service of Cornell and Berkeley. Don't forget, give them a call, 678-3101, Magic Valley Irrigation. We're going to take a little break right now, and we're going to send this over to our main studios in just a moment. Once again, I want to remind everybody, I've got a couple of public service announcements before I send it over to Gina. There's going to be a Youth for Liberty yard sale. It's going to be this coming Saturday, August 16th, from 8 in the morning till 3 p.m. in the afternoon at 2159 Miller Avenue, just west of the Dairy Queen in Burley. They're going to have all the funding go to help buy uniforms for the Youth for Liberty participants. And also, don't forget, coming up on September 11th at Ramsey Heating and Electric, it's going to be our Hats Off to Farmer and Special Patriots Day. Put that on your calendar. It's coming up quicker than you think. We'll send it back to Gina. We'll be back in just 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. And this can be kind of sad for me, to be very blunt, because a very dear friend and his wife, both of them very dear friends, are going to be leaving this area and going to start a new venture in their life. And I'm going to miss him, and that's Pastor Alex Lissau and his wonderful wife, Barbara. Doggone it, I'm going to hate to see you go.
Well, thanks, Zeb. And we're only 3.5, even not quite that much, hours to the northeast, and so, we're going to be in the St. Anthony and Ashton area, and some of the most beautiful country in the state of Idaho, and it's not that far.
No, it's not.
And we'll also have the opportunities. I've been asked to continue some responsibilities with our district, so I'll continue to be able to meet with people and probably be down here from time to time and that sort of thing. But in terms of, I just had to make a decision as to what I wanted to do, and it's exciting. At my age, it's exciting for a new start because you kind of feel like you're on a downward slope, and you're trying to keep from making it run too fast. If you ever run downhill, you know what I mean. You're running like crazy to keep from falling in your face, and so I'm kind of looking forward to continuing to serve. There's a couple of small congregations up there who could not afford a pastor, a full-time pastor otherwise, and so I'm going to get to oversee a couple of assistant-type guys and give me an opportunity to continue to serve for a few more years, which I want to do, but also get a little bit of opportunity to, if I fall down out the back door of my place, I'm going to be almost in the river, so I'm going to be able to fish some of the most beautiful fly fishing country in America right there in that St. Anthony and Ashton area. So,
you've had the opportunity in your career as a pastor to be at various congregations and various churches across the country. I know you came, correct me if I'm wrong, you came here from Nebraska, isn't that right?
Well, from California.
Yeah. But you had been in Nebraska.
Yeah, just before California.
A pastor, a lot of people think, well, he's pretty sedentary. He gets a job and he stays there. That's not the case, is it?
Well, that's not the case. Not in modern day society. It used to be the case. I mean, there's congregations around here that I've had kind of responsibility for as a circuit counselor, circuit visitor, and they've had pastors in those congregations that have been around for 24, 25 years in one place. There's a couple that I've read about and heard about in different places. Usually in the Midwest, you'll find people in the smaller congregations that'll be there in their entire career. Yeah. They come out of seminary and they go there, or it's their second call, maybe that sort of thing. And but generally speaking, the most of what you see nowadays is 5-6 years on an average, and maybe a little more, maybe a little less, depending on the part of the country. And people move on. They go to different places and different locations. And so, and I came into the ministry later in life, and so, I've truly enjoyed it. I love it. I mean, it's probably the best thing I've ever done. I believe it was truly a calling of God in my life, and so I've enjoyed that opportunity. And even though there's the downside, the negative side of leaving one place, and I felt some of that last night. I felt this urge to say, gosh, maybe I got to change my mind,
Really?
But at the same time, the people who were going there, they were just ecstatic that we're coming. They were looking at a long-term opportunity. Lack of opportunity for having a full-time pastor available, and now with that changing, they're just really excited. So it's kind of a new blood, new life being breathed in me, and so I'm 68 years old and heading for 69 very quickly here, and still I got a lot ahead of me. I really have a lot of energy still left and desire to keep moving. So I'm excited about this.
When you look back and you say you came into the ministry at a later stage in your life, that must have been a big decision all of a sudden to go into the schooling and the education system to learn how to be a pastor, knowing that you were leaving your comfort zone in the business world.
Well, and yeah, it's true. The direct answer to that is I remember telling my father-in-law, a wonderful, sweet man who is gone and was the Lord, but I remember telling him that I was going to sell it all and give it all up and go to seminary and become a pastor. And he was quiet for quite some time because I was, at that time, I was a senior operations manager for a scientific engineering company up in Idaho Falls, and I was making as good a money as I've ever made, and bonuses, and and running 3 states and that kind of thing, and having a great time, and it was just one of those situations that it was kind of like, why would you do something like that? Was the question. Why would you give up all that you have? Well, it's not all about money.
It's kind of like Jesus picking his disciples, wasn't it?
Sure. It's not about money. It's not about power. It's about, I can tell you the number of times I sat down with my wife in the evening and looked at her and said, we've got a house, we've got money, we've got cars, we've got all the things we've ever wanted. You can take a couple $1,000 out of the bank and go to Disney World with the grandkids and everything else anytime you want to, and those kinds of things. And why am I not happy? And the wife looked at me and said, well, I don't know, you better figure out what it is that's making you happy, because you're driving me crazy. But the whole purpose of that is that, there's a calling in your life. Yep. And if you're not, I would rather do something I love to do. And I think that's saying, that if you do what you love to do, you'll never work another day in your life. I would rather do something I love to do and have to scrape and scrimp up and do other things that I need to do to bring in extra money or whatever is necessary, but really do something you enjoy. Because I've also been on the other end of that spectrum where, there's no misery like having to get up every morning and say to yourself, oh, God, why do I got to do this again,
Let me ask you this. You've been help me on this. When you got out of the school and went to your first job, where was your first job?
My first call was to a small congregation just outside of Billings, Montana, town of Laurel, Montana, railroad town, 10 miles west of Billings, and it was a very small congregation. When I got there, it was like 15 people with me and the dog.
Oh my!
And then the pastor, who had been ahead of me, he'd gone off to be a chaplain in the Navy, and he came back from his training, and he picked up his wife and 5 kids, and so we had a congregation of about 9 people.
9 people.
But we grew that to, over the next few years, we grew that up to a little over 40, and that was a work in itself. I did a lot of prison fellowship ministry in those days. Used to go into the Yellowstone County Jail and minister to people. I had 4 different cell blocks I did Bible studies with, and then every 3 months I would take 2-3 days, and we would drive to. I was with the Chuck Colson's Prison Ministries, just affiliated with them, and we would drive down to Deer Lodge, Montana, and go to the state prison, and I would go in there and teach pre-release classes and teach young men who were coming out of prison how they needed to conduct themselves to survive outside rather than getting thrown back in. And that was quite an experience. In fact, as I like to say, I got along with those people a lot better than I did with some of my congregational members.
So, of all the places that you've been in your ministerial career, have you had any memories of any location that stands out as either the most refreshing or even the most comedic? Something funny that happened during your ministerial career that you always as a highlight?
Well, I pretty much enjoyed everywhere I've been. Some places not quite as much as at others. Sometimes the location was more of a problematic issue than the congregation or the people. The things that stand out for me was in 2003, one Sunday afternoon after a beautiful worship service and an exciting day, and gathered with the entire congregation. We all met at one of the local restaurants, and we on Sundays we used to do that with smaller groups, but this time it was a larger group for some reason. Had dinner, buffet type thing, and we were enjoying ourselves and laughing and having a good time, and all got home, and within a couple of hours there was a telephone call that said, told my wife, that said, if you want to see a tornado, go upstairs in the office above your garage and look to the west. And Barbara said, I'm not sure that that's what I'm supposed to do when there's a tornado in the area. But we both went upstairs, and that's where my office was, and looked out the windows to the west, and there was this monstrosity. In fact, there was a couple of them, but there was one right dead in front of us. It was probably still about 4 or 5 miles away, and it had to be 1 to 2 miles at the base. I mean, this thing was a monster.
Wow.
And it was coming. Well, there was 7 or 8 that fell that particular day. the one that came through the town of Deshler, Nebraska, hit this little Snake Creek, it was called, and came up the creek. It wiped out a 100-year-old county fair building that was one of the historic landmarks in the area. An octagonal-shaped 2-story building, beautiful. It was ripped that off. It tore apart the racing track there. It lifted the roof and set it back down on the nursing home, and then it came down the canal, down the bank, and along the road. Missed our place by about 100 yards or so. We had some debris flying. We lost some major trees that fell across the road, a lot of houses with roofs, and about 30 homes just either partially, big portions of destroyed or completely destroyed.
Wow.
Lost one person. He happened to be out in the garage getting some dog food for his dog, and the roof fell in on him.
Oh, my.
But that particular experience was one I'd never been in before, and neither Barbara and I, neither one had been in before. It sounded like a freight train coming through the house because it was that close.
Right.
And I got out of the house after it went by and the all-clear signal was given, and I spent most of my next hour or so walking around pulling people out of underneath basements and helping jack up porches that had collapsed, and then going to the nursing home, and several of the people were being taken because windows broke, glass cut. People got some cuts. They had to be taken to the local hospital, which was 7 miles away. And so that was probably one of my most exciting ministry experiences that I can tell you about. That I'll never forget.
Do you think that, and you've been on this program many, many times, and I thank God for that because of your thoughtfulness and your prayer, but do you think that younger people today that are leaving the seminary schools and going out into the hinterlands to take their first job as a preacher, are they really prepared to realize what a public servant they really have to be?
Well, I've met a lot of pastors, young pastors and older pastors, and we're all human beings, every one of us. I mean, we're sinners just like everybody else is, and we struggle, we battle with certain issues. Some of us go way off the deep end, and we wind up losing our focus and direction and wind up getting out of the ministry altogether, and appropriately so. Others get uptight and they get bound up by certain things that really make no consequence. I mean, there are hills worth dying on, and I'm willing to go to that extent. I'll fight to the death for certain things that I believe are not possible to compromise on. But there are a lot of things that can be compromised on. There are a lot of things that can be worked out for the benefit of all the people, for the care of all the people, for the compassion and love of all the people. And when you get to the point where you can't do that, and so I would say to you that some of the younger people coming out of seminary are so stuck in the rules that they don't know how to work through the people, and they lose in this compassionate relationship that there should be, loving relationship there should be between pastors and people. There's a loss there. There's a gap falling away, and the struggles happen, and all of a sudden, the younger pastor says to himself, "Gosh, I didn't know it was going to be like this."
Right.
But it's the same way with me. I mean, when I came out of seminary and I was 52 years old at the time, I was on fire. I thought, this is going to be the most wonderful experience of my life. I'm going to go be a pastor and be in a church with people who love the Lord and who are happy and loving and caring. People to people, wherever they are. And we're all, like I said before, we're all sinners, and we all have agendas, and we all have attitudes, and if there's that situation that comes up from time to time and you've heard of this many times, I know, Zeb, that if it wasn't invented here and people point at their brain, then it can't possibly have any value.
Right.
And I think that destroys any opportunity for purpose.
I agree. We're going to have more with Pastor Alex Lissau in just a moment, but we've got to have a weather update with MichaelRogersWeather.com. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Your hometown meat cutter. As a matter of fact, they've been doing this for over 20 years, selling taste one bite at a time. They guarantee everything they sell, and I'll guarantee you nothing is better than like their marinated tri-tip for any occasion. Get a hold of them today, 324-7657, Scarrows Meats. Here now, Michael Rogers with a weather update.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers with Zeb at the Ranch, start of a brand spanking new week of humid and sunny weather. Don't buy into it all. You're going to see some showers in the forecast, possibly after lunchtime today. And then later on this evening, the clouds will increase, and by tomorrow, you'll be walking into heavy showers and thunderstorms for tomorrow and also for tomorrow night. Daytime highs for today, 89 for the high, 63 for the overnight low, and then the temperatures will get cooler as this frontal system passes through the Magic Valley of South Central Idaho. So enjoy the day, enjoy the weather. It is the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael Rogers, weather.com. Skittles Meats, our sponsor this hour, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Yes, they are selling taste one bite at a time. I've got a question for you. When I started this business about 16 years ago and basically started my own radio station, if you will, I had certain goals and aspirations that I wanted to achieve. Is that the same as what pastors have when they come out of seminary school and they have their first assignment? Do they have goals and do they have different achievement levels that they want to try to achieve through the congregations?
Well, yeah, I think so. Again, we are all personalities. We're all characters in our own way, and when I was in seminary, I remember my professor in one of my classes said to me, said to all of us basically, he says, some of you guys really don't know what your focus is going to be. Some of you guys don't really have a goal established yet. Some of you guys don't know how you're going to flow with things. But he said, but if you always keep your focus on the Word of God, if you always keep your focus on Scripture, God has the answers and the direction for you. He tells you the lessons He gives you. And then the pastoral epistles that St. Paul wrote about, and we see in also Peter, the calling on the heart of the pastor. I mean, if you stay in the Scripture, you can't go wrong. It admonishes you, it teaches you, it encourages you, it directs you, it provides you in times of struggle. It provides you comfort. In times of fear, it provides you strength to overcome it. Always provides hope. Always provides hope. And then what comes with that is, and some people don't quite comprehend the meaning of this, but what comes with all of that is, in the final analysis, is this peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that is true peace. I mean, I don't know how people without a true love of the Lord have true peace. And I know there'll be a lot of people that out there would like to argue with me on that particular issue. But I wouldn't be a pastor, I wouldn't be a Christian pastor if I didn't stand on the Holy Scriptures.
Let me ask you this. On our currency, at least it still does as of today, say, "In God we trust." Do you, as a pastor, that you and I are the same age, do we still trust God like we should?
I really don't think that we do as we should or as we used to. I think, let me give you an example. I just came back from a week at a summer camp. 3rd graders through 6th graders. And I got to tell you, it was one of the greatest weeks that I've had in a long time. I mean, it was like somebody had, like you see in some of these movies, somebody had sucked the joy and the power out of these little kids and injected it in me. I mean, I had a great time. And 3rd graders through 6th graders, so you're talking about kids in the, 8 years old to 12 time age frame. I had kids coming up to me. I had 3 to 4 sessions a day where I was able to talk to them directly in one sense or another, and then also talk to the staff and the counselors and the college-age kids that were there leading things and doing things. One of the greatest times I've ever had, blessings to me, because I had an opportunity to share things in a storytelling way, because if I put it in the context that they could understand. And I was doing that with these kids. But 2 or 3 of the counselors would come up to me afterwards and they'd say, "Man, Pastor, what a great job." And, of course, that buoys you up. You get all pumped up. You feel great about that. And thank goodness that I made a point and somebody understood it. And I had them actually ask me, after our campfire events began somewhere around 8:30 and would be over around 9:15 or 9:30. And about 30 minutes of that is my time to preach to those kids. But afterwards, they would go get a snack or whatever, or get some hot chocolate. And we had some pretty cool weather up there. And so some of the counselors came to me and they said, "Pastor, would you be willing to do a question and answer period with these kids?" I said, "Sure, anytime." So over the next couple of days, I had this opportunity where I would go up and sit down in the lodge with 8, 10, 12 kids, and they would ask me questions. And I'm getting to the answer to your point here. The one question that was consistent every time was, "Who created God?"
Really?
And I didn't put that in the context of. I put it in the context of the world has pushed its world review, secular worldview, into the minds and the hearts of our kids today, versus a Christian worldview. And I blame myself, the church, the pastors, and kids that go to parochial schools, go to Christian schools, church schools. I think they get that. But, and I was trying to figure out how I best answer this. I kept saying, well, God is from everlasting to everlasting. He's always been there. He existed before anything else did. And see, we live in a time frame where people need to know that there's a beginning and an end.
That's right.
They struggle with this concept of infinity.
That's right.
The infinite, and so, and finally one kid, and it struck me, it just kind of hit me right between the eyes one time. One kid said, yeah, but still, Pastor, I still don't get it. Who created God? And I finally said, well, of all of the different philosophies and ideas out there, the craziness out there, let me put it this way. If there was anybody that created God, then he'd have to be God, wouldn't he?
There you go.
And the kids kind of, they all looked at each other and they said, geez, that's right. So, yeah, I think that's where we are. I think we have influenced our society in such a way. We've created, because of evolution and all these different things that we teach nowadays, I think we've created more questions than we have answers.
Absolutely. I've got to take a commercial break. I'll be right back and wrap things up with Pastor Alex Lissau, dear friend. And he's leaving the area to go up into northeastern Idaho, and we certainly wish him well. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, absolutely with the best in tires, all the different tread designs, all the different tires for all the different driving needs that you have, whether it's your car, pickup, SUV, horse trailers, boat trailers, whatever, with a free lifetime tire and mileage care and free peace of mind tire protection. All 7 locations serving you with the best of shocks and struts and, of course, front end alignments and the best of brake service. You stop in today and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Pastor, one of the things that really is going to bother me by your leaving is losing not only your proximity of your friendship. I know you're only a phone call away, but you've been a lot of things to a lot of people, and I know you have a lot of things you want to say to people before you leave that are listening to this program. So now it's kind of, you've got the floor, you can take it and say whatever you want.
I think, Zeb, as a pastor, obviously, sometimes you have to tread lightly. But as I said before, I'm a human being like everybody else is, and so I'm affected by things in our society and our time. And I'm pretty much, I've probably not been as depressed for our society in many years. I was a senior in high school when they assassinated Jack Kennedy. And I thought that was one of the most horrendous times in the history of our country. And then turn around and what they did with Martin Luther King. And I thought that was a horrendous time in our country. But what's going on in our society today drives me absolutely nuts. I mean, we've not only lost all morality in society, but we've got a buffoon in the White House. We've got a guy over there that's doing stuff. He has no experience, no knowledge in what he's doing. And frankly, like I said, I have to walk lightly sometimes, but I'm in between places right now, and I think I can freely speak from my own heart, and that is, we ought to wake up in this country. And it's not just the President of the United States, it's his whole cabinet, it's entire Congress. I mean, we've got people that need to stand up. Now, if I can take just a second here. A few months ago, I was invited to speak and do the invocation prayer at the Republican gathering in Jerome, the county Republicans. And I was trying to think to myself, how do I impress the importance of doing something of value? And it just hit me in this passage of Scripture from Genesis chapter 42. It's the first three, actually just the first 2 verses. When Jacob learned that there was grain for sale in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why do you look at one another?" And he said, "Behold, I have heard that there is grain for sale in Egypt. Go down and buy grain for us there, that we may live and not die." Now, we know that the context of that particular passage deals with God's putting into place the opportunity for the brothers who had Joseph, their younger brother, thrown and then eventually sold off to the slavers.
Right.
and he becomes the second most powerful guy in all of Egypt. And so what the Father is saying to these guys, they're all standing around wringing their hands because of the drought and the starvation and the pestilence and everything that's going on at a particular time. He says, what are you guys sitting around here for? Get off your butts and go do something here. Go to Egypt, there's grain there, and bring it back here so that we may live and not die. My last point that I would like to say to everybody on this radio, and I hope it hits the hearts of people everywhere that they'll pass this word on. As long as we just sit and moan and groan and complain about stuff instead of doing what we need to do, we will never change the direction of this country back to where it belongs in the direction. And I believe that we have the freedom and the right for happiness. And I think right now, this country may have been maybe as unhappy as I've ever seen it. It certainly is with many of the people I deal with. And my prayer is that God would strengthen us and have us all stand up. And instead of us all just saying, well, woe's me, there's nothing we can do, we're just going to sit here and complain and worry about it. It's time to stop doing that. And I know, I hear people on your radio station all the time, Seb, that come forward and speak out, and I'm proud of those people. But we need to go beyond just those of us that get together and speak. We need to influence everybody around us because it's time we go back to what's right.
Amen. Pastor Alex Lissau and your lovely wife Barbara, who is out in the other room right now, I want to extend to you the very best. Please know that I have a couple of old fishing poles out in the garage that I will take out of wraps.
I got a place to go.
And I'll bet you're going to see me standing on your doorstep.
I'll stay.
And I wish you the very best. God's blessings to you.
Well, I love you, Zeb. You are a dear brother in the faith, and I love your wife. You are the dearest people in the world to me. And I love the people that you gather with. When I've been to those lunch bunches, I can't tell you how proud I am of those folks that show up every time. God bless you, and God bless America.
Thank you so much. Oh, I'm going to miss this man, Pastor Alex Lissau, and the very best to him and his lovely wife. We'll be back here in the saddle tomorrow morning. We've got a full plate of guests tomorrow, including Christine Harbin Hansen, talking about the absolute ugliness of the EPA. Jessie Jane Duff, don't miss that. We're going to be talking about the seriousness and the absolute horror of the ISIS, along with Dr. History and the Cassia County Fair, all kinds of things tomorrow on Zeb at the Ranch. The way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.